Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinemaholic Productions. My name is Spencer Henderson, and I am a cinemaholic.
Hi, everybody. I am dressed up like Kevin Feige today because somebody called me Ryan Feige yesterday. So I'm Ryan Feige, and I am a cinemaholic.
Man, that was a deep little reference there. I was like, for some people probably didn't get that, but if you didn't, then do your research, everybody. Okay. Well, we won't be going too long with this meeting today, but we're gonna start things off by talking about our watch list. Then we're gonna move into our weekly classic, where we'll be talking about the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which is the favorite film of Ryan's favorite movies director, Damien Chazelle. And then we're going to move into a discussion today. We're do a little bit different. We're going to be like kind of talking about what film series we think is the best series of all time out of Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings. So we might have differing opinions, we might not, who knows? We'll see where it goes. But to start things off, Ryan, let's get into your watch list. What have you been consuming entertainment-wise this week?
So my watch list is full of a lot of rewatches that we've actually already talked about at least once, if not multiple times. I rewatched Whiplash, which is a phenomenal movie and fits perfectly with, like you said, La La Land and Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later, directed by Damien Chazelle, who is phenomenal. It was a great movie. If you haven't seen it, and it's a masterpiece. And specifically, if you want to analyze editing, masterclass of editing right there. My next one was Logan, which I've already talked about. So if you want to check out the Logan review, go ahead and do that.
But I have a quick question. Did you like Logan better on second viewing? Because I've seen it twice as well.
I did. I think it worked a lot better. The only really thing, like the first time I talked about it, I said that I had an issue with a little bit of the acting. It didn't bother me the second time. And I loved the little, spoiler alert, the little black kid running right at the very end. It really stood out the second time for some weird reason. I was like, run, man, run. So yeah, I don't know. Did you like it better the second time?
Oh yeah, I loved it even more. It's honestly my second favorite superhero movie, obviously behind The Dark Knight. Love it.
Awesome. So the last one on my watch list, I don't want to talk about too much. And even what I was thinking about, this may come across prestigious because I haven't even seen it, but Mr. Robot. I've been watching Mr. Robot, and it reminds me a lot of Black Mirror. I've never seen an episode of Black Mirror, so that's why I'm saying I don't want to sound like I'm just like making assumptions here. But from what everybody has told me about Black Mirror, this seems like it's similar in tones and kind of what it's trying to accomplish. That being said, I'm digging Mr. Robot. I started like 2 days ago. I'm on episode 6. I'm watching episode 6 tonight. It is definitely one that hooked me from the get-go, and I'm excited to binge this season, next season, and then this summer we can talk about the third season.
Yep. Please tell me you're seeing this too. So I love Mr. Robot. It has one of the best opening scenes I've ever seen in anything. Like it's very rare that from the first opening, just like sentence or paragraph, I suppose, monologue, voiceover in this show, from the first voiceover in this, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna love this. And then yeah, the like opening scene of this show, that part in the coffee shop, amazing, incredible, totally sets up this character in a super smart way. I love Mr. Robot, love it, think it's brilliant.
I want to say two things about what I've enjoyed so far. Actually, one thing that I've really liked is that from the get-go, in the first episode he talks about Evil Corp, and he establishes the name, and then he quickly says, I've done this filter in my brain to name it or to translate everything into Evil Corp. And then they leave it at that. The rest, I mean, maybe it changes, but so far, every single moment since then, it's showed up as Evil Corp.
Oh, yeah, you're very much inside this character's head in this series. And that's one thing I love about is the way it's edited and the way it's shot makes you feel like you're with this character on this journey.
Seriously. And that goes along the second part that I've really liked voiceovers I am not a fan of, but they've done something very unique with this voiceover where he addresses us. I mean, he breaks the fourth wall, but in a sense that he's like, I don't know if you're real. I've probably just created you. I have created you so that I can sort through this stuff myself and I can have this experience. And you're just literally watching this with him, and it's so unique and so refreshing. So I'm definitely excited to finish this one.
Yeah, we'll probably have to have a more in-depth discussion once you get into season two, because season two, it does things that you don't see on TV. Like there's one specific episode I can't wait to talk to you about. But yeah, does that wrap up your watch list?
Yep.
So quickly, I'll go over mine real quick. I only have one thing on my watch list. I'm had a pretty busy week, but now I'm on spring break. I've been playing lots of video games. Well, specifically Mass Effect Andromeda, which just came out today. But that's not my watch list. My watch list is actually going to be Elle, which is directed by Paul Verhoeven. Ryan talked about this at some point. I don't remember which episode, but I remember him saying that he really liked this movie. This is a foreign film, French, and it stars Isabella Huppert. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And she is phenomenal in this movie. I want to start off by saying she gives a great performance. She is an elderly lady who was raped, and it's kind of this mystery of her trying to figure out who raped her. Basically, the rapist is sending her messages and kind of almost toying with her head. She is a video game designer and kind of in charge of this group, and you're kind of trying to figure out through the movie who did it, what's really happening in it. And I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's extremely dark. I want to say if you're somebody who is squeamish, this isn't one to seek out, but I really liked it. I liked that it was kind of willing to go some of the routes that it went. I guess my only issue with this movie is a couple choices by her character. Maybe it's even acting choices. It's kind of one of those movies you almost feel you need to watch twice just to kind of, because there's some really weird psychological stuff going on kind of in the third act of this movie that I liked, but at the same time I didn't like, which I know that's really cryptic. I don't want to get into spoilers because I doubt lots of our audience has seen this movie. Overall, though, I like this movie a lot. I think I would give it an 8.25 out of 10. I think it's very, very well done. I think that it has some really, really great like skin crawling sequences. Anything to add, Ryan?
No, I remember when I did talk about it, I had said the same thing of this is one that is dark, and it starts off with the rape. Like from the get-go, you know what you're getting into. And I know when I talked about it last time, I didn't say much because it kind of it's one of those where you don't want to say too much about it because this is definitely one that you want to experience and don't want to have it spoiled. So if you are into thriller, suspense, kind of darker movies, this is definitely one psychologically that is enjoyable, and I would definitely suggest. I think I gave it like a 9. Like I really dug this movie.
Yeah, that's when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, this seems like Ryan's jam. Like here, that was like he definitely probably dug this one. But yeah, it should have. It as far as I'm concerned, it should have been nominated for best foreign film over Tony Erdmann.
Definitely.
So,
oh yeah, hands down.
Yeah.
All right, so hopping into our next segment, we're going to be talking about our Filmstruck weekly classic. If you haven't heard about Filmstruck, we talked about it last week. Filmstruck is a streaming service similar to Netflix or Amazon, but it solely revolves around classic movies and indies, and it's partnered up with Criterion Collection. So for like $9.99 or something a month, you can get access to all these awesome classics. And each week we're going to be choosing one off of this streaming service to talk about. This week we are talking about The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which is an amazing film. I'll just flat out start with that. This is a foreign film, French, that was directed by, how do you say it? Jacques? Is it?
Oh, I didn't look at the director.
Yeah, if you'll look that up and just kind of correct me on that one, that it's Jacques Demy, I think is how you say it. but I am just barely being introduced to all of this person. See, I don't even know. It's a guy, all of his work, and he actually has done a lot of awesome things. This is a musical that was made in 1964, which the reason we wanted to put this on this episode for sure was because this is the biggest inspiration for Damien Chazelle when he made La La Land. And having watched La La Land first and going back to this, I can totally see all of the influences. So to start us off, what did you think of this one, Spencer?
Yeah, I expected to like this movie. I did not expect to blow me away as much as this movie did. This is a great film. However, my one disclaimer, this movie like literally ripped my heart out of my chest. This was super like it's a movie that is like heartbreaking, very much like La La Land. But I'd say it's even more so sad than La La Land because it's a movie kind of about like regrets and about, you know, kind of how do I want to word this? Kind of love that will never kind of like come into fruition, in a way, doomed romance, I suppose. And it's set to the contrast of, you know, this really bright, colorful musical. And I think it really works, though. I think that the tone of this movie is absolutely perfect. And I kind of like movies that break the kind of, you know, general boundaries of film, that kind of take a different route. And this movie certainly does. I think a lot of it is because it's a foreign film. And the thing that just surprised me is the 60s. For most American films, it was a pretty, you know, innocent time. There were some groundbreaking films, but with most American musicals, you would not see it turn out the way that this film did. And I thought that it was bold. I thought it was very, very well done. I thought the music was really pretty in it. I love this movie. I could not believe how much I wound up liking it. What did you think?
I am exactly on the same lines. This I didn't really go into it too much. This is it's a drama romance musical. But I don't know. Like, this is one that I could sit and, like La La Land, talk about for hours because it's so beautiful, and it's, like you said, it's groundbreaking, which both films were able to accomplish. They're both able to make a statement and have these contrasts and bring in these new ideas. And that's just another, you know, another good thing about La La Land is that it's able to like break the barriers of old and new and inspire us to go back and watch things like this. So this one definitely, it holds up. Like, this is such a good, it's not ever going to get old. This is truly a classic. The performances were actually phenomenal. Like, I have this weird stigma in my head that acting is kind of even less effective back in the 60s and the 70s. It was just a different art form. But this, like, it didn't even faze me. It was so good and so poignant. The colors are the thing that stand out the most to me on top of everything. Like you said, it is such a good contrast to what the story is. It's not a happy story by any means. So to be able to see that contrast, I think that is something that more films need to do. Unfortunately, it's so hard to accomplish. I think that's why everyone stays away from it, because if you do it and you don't do it right, you look super dumb. Like, you can ruin a film instantly by not pulling it off, because it is such a hard thing. Sorry, you were going to say something?
I was just going to add one more thing in. You know, when sometimes there's like musicals that are sad, but they kind of feel sad just kind of in a melodramatic sense, kind of like Les Miserables. It's a movie that I think of that's very raw in its emotion. It wants to look and feel very raw. But this movie is like, it's realistically sad. Like, it's like real life happening to these people with these big musical numbers, you know, and that's, I really thought that it worked so well in this movie. I love this movie.
What would you rate it?
I think I would just score this one a 9.5 out of 10. I think that this movie is phenomenal. If it's worth signing up for Filmstruck for $10 a month, by the way, guys, just to watch this film. This is really, really a work of art. I hadn't even heard of it until Ryan told me about this movie, and I'm so glad that he told us about this because and suggested that we watch this, because this is one that I'm going to go back and watch probably like annually even. I love this.
Right. And this is one definitely that I've started watching it again because this is one that I want to go back. I don't know how it pulls off the things it pulls off so well. And I want to analyze this. I'm going to watch this within the next 2 months. I'm going to watch it another two times. And this is definitely one that I'm going to continue to watch, and it will never get old. I'm going to rate it a 9.75. Like, this movie is so good. I would definitely recommend, even if like musicals are not your thing, this is definitely one that I think can transcend that band.
Right, and I just have one more question for you. Like, spoiler free, I suppose. But what did you think of like the very, very ending of the movie?
Ooh, I just loved it. I don't know. I mean, it led up to it so perfectly. It's like, how could you have not done it?
Yeah. And it honestly, holding that up to the ending of La La Land, very, very similar. Like, you can definitely, like you said, see the inspirations and where the seeds were planted in Damien Chazelle's mind from watching this film. This is an incredible movie, guys. Definitely check this out if you get the chance. Anything else to add, Ryan?
No. We didn't really decide pro what our next week is. Did you have a suggestion for next week's?
I say that you watch Rosemary's Baby and I'll rewatch Rosemary's Baby. So guys, next week, Rosemary's Baby. In a way, I guess it's kind of a cult classic, but it's also just a flat out classic and a great movie. I think it has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a pretty high score, guys. So that being said, let's move into the discussion, the very hotly anticipated Cinemaholics debate, as one could say. So the other night, me and some friends had a debate that I wiped them with the floor with, by the way, that of which movie series or film series was the best. And the debate was between Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter. And we got pretty heated. We ended up talking about this far longer than admittedly we should have. But first off, we had a couple emails from this topic, and we decided to pick the best one. And this email comes from Rachel Schwantis, and she said, I saw the Instagram post, so here's my opinion on the following series and which one is best. I don't think enough effort was put into the Harry Potter franchise to consider it the best of the three options you've asked us to give opinions on. In fact, it's sadly the worst of the three. Harry Potter is my favorite book series ever, but the movies, while entertaining, do not adequately translate the emotion, character development, and depth of story that's present in the books. I think sometimes movies based off books rely on the chance that you have read the book so they can get away with cutting corners and being lazy. That's not how it should be. That was a huge letdown to me. I've been a Harry Potter fan since I was 8 years old. Maybe if the same people who made the first two movies stuck it out for the rest of the series, it would have been different. I think the first two movies did a better job of capturing the magic. And she said, pun intended. I think it's hard to choose which is best between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, however. I love Star Wars, but I don't really like that the story doesn't start at the beginning and proceed to the end. I'm sure lots of people, and you guys probably totally disagree with me on that, but since I'm not a diehard fan who knows everything about Star Wars, it would have been less confusing on the average viewer to stick to a standard timeline. However, if they had, sorry, this is weird. If they had, I know some of the movies would, if they would have known, I guess some of the movies would have suffered as a result. Right now, I think Lord of the Rings is the best. Though as I type that, I still feel this pull towards Star Wars. I have never read the books, but that didn't hold me back from enjoying the movies. I felt drawn into the storyline and connected to the characters. I was always entertained with what was going on. You get a sense of how massive Middle-earth is, and the variety of characters pull it all together. After finishing the movies in the theaters, it was agonizing because you had to wait a year or two for the next one. Sometimes I get really tired of the majority of characters in movies nowadays being computer animated, and I like that at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings series, at least I think. The orcs are actors. I think it makes the movie more impressive. Also, Gollum will always be creepy as hell to me. So, thank you, Rachel, for the email. That's some pretty great insight there, and we agree that the practical effects in the orcs. I know it's something that I was always a huge fan of in the Lord of the Rings. But Ryan, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you think the best film series is?
Well, if we can talk about her comments really quick before we can build up to a big reveal of which one actually is. The one thing that stood out in her comments was that Star Wars had the downside of not being in order, but the same thing could be said about Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings was not in order. So if you're going to dock Star Wars for going 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, then the same docking has to happen to Lord of the Rings, which went 4, 5, 6, 1, which was then 2, 3, and they had stretched it out. Which I had texted you the other day, and you had asked me the same question, and my initial reaction was that if I were to line them all up, I have to be able to. I mean, we're talking about the best series, correct?
I'd say here's where I draw the line is I'm calling this the best film series of all time.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So film series, we're talking about the series as a whole. So when I line all 3 series up, I take all of them, and you have to look at the full series. So I think Star Wars and Lord of the Rings get docked right off the front for the prequels, which both sucked. I mean, the Star Wars prequels were awful, and The Hobbit, I can't legitimately say, I guess, that they all suck, because I only saw the 3rd Hobbit film, but it wasn't good. And I heard that was kind of the best one. Maybe the first Hobbit was a little bit better, but let's not even talk about the Hobbit movies. That docks those ones. Harry Potter to me is like the one that I always dug. And I'm biased towards that one because looking back at my childhood, a lot of people can say Star Wars, like my parents, they grew up in that era. Star Wars is what inspired me to do this. And I wish that could be me, but I was born a little later. Harry Potter actually is the one that inspired me to get into everything that I'm involved with right now. I went and I remember going opening nights. I remember all these parties, dressing up, seeing all of the films in theaters. And it's the franchise of my life. I mean, not just my childhood. It's a decade long. So I give Harry Potter a point there. But then, I mean, if you go back to Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, they've accomplished so much. They've withstood the test of time. They're still around. So I could go and I could argue each point. When I decided, do you want to talk about anything I just said, or do you want me to say what I think the best one is?
You just go ahead and say what you think the best. Okay. I'm very curious and into what you're saying.
Right. At this point, I did a whole tally, and like I said, I could go on and on and on. I did a tally of pros and cons of every series, and I think what it comes down to for me personally is Star Wars is the best series. Star Wars, the mythology and the world that they set up, purely, we're just talking film here, they established it so clear and so concise and so simply right from the beginning. And it's such a pure series. It's a tale of love, of romance, of adventure, and the universe. I mean, I'm halfway through a book right now called How Star Wars Conquered the Universe, and it's like I'm listening to the audiobook. It's like a 15-hour audiobook. And it just keeps going and going about everything that has been influenced by Star Wars. And we wouldn't be in the world that we're in today without Star Wars. Like, it changed the world, not just cinema within itself, the way stories are told and everything. And it, as a series as a whole, it has so much rich environment to just keep growing and to keep nurturing. And I mean, it's so good because it answers so many good questions, but it also knows when to leave things mysterious, and it doesn't feel like it has to answer or reveal everything to us. So, I mean, kind of altogether, that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts on the series stuff?
So, kind of like you said, so we grew up with two of these franchises, like particular. Actually, we kind of grew up with all three, but we grew up with the prequels. And you know, when I was a kid, I did like the prequels, but having gone back and rewatched the prequels for Star Wars, they're such garbage. And I'm also not a huge fan of the Hobbit movies either. I actually think the third one's the worst,
Really?
followed by the first, and then the second one is probably my favorite. But so here's my argument. As far as the Harry Potter goes, Harry Potter never really connected with me in the way that it did most people. I did see all the movies. I went and saw them in theaters with my family. My mom would like take us out of school to go and see those. And having rewatched Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I did not like it near as much as I did the first time because of like small little plot holes. So it's like all three of these in a way. The prequel is not very a great movie. Like, for example, the reason why I don't think Fantastic Beasts is as good is because Newt Scamander literally could have just done his like the teleport thing to the place where he needed to let go all the animals. He did not have to ride a boat into New York City. And it's like this giant gaping plot hole that it's solved by one simple thing that they introduce and they even use within that movie. And there are charming elements to Fantastic Beasts. It's not as bad as the Star Wars prequels or even the Hobbit movies, but it's just there are giant plot holes like that. But there are these great benefits to Harry Potter. It's literally captures movie magic, literally like Rachel said, in a way that no other series really can. And it's almost like you said, a decade-long series with the same cast of characters. And you know, you're very much going back into this world every time, and you're with these kids, like as they're going through all these crazy things. And they were the same age, like basically as us growing up. So it was just like growing with these characters. And Lord of the Rings was something that connected with me a lot more personally. I remember my mom read me the book The Hobbit when I was like pretty young, and I always just like connected to the Lord of the Rings movies in a way that I didn't with the Harry Potter films. And I remember being so excited for every Lord of the Rings movie whenever I knew that there was another one coming out. However, I'm going with Star Wars. Star Wars, in my opinion, is the best film series probably of all time, despite the prequels. I don't really count the prequels. I kind of like to erase them from my memory. I think the only prequel that counts anymore is Rogue One. But here's my argument on why. So we have Lord of the Rings and we have Harry Potter. These are two franchises, I guess, plural, is that a word? Yeah, that are based off of like previous novels. So they were really characters and worlds that were created in an author's mind and put onto page, and that inspired somebody to put them to screen. As you said, with that book with stars, without Star Wars, I doubt we'd have a Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings film. And then to further my point, Star Wars came from one guy's mind. That universe came from one guy's mind specifically for the like the film for specifically for the medium. Yeah, that's I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. The medium of film. And it's just like the original trilogy is so expertly told. And we got into a little sub debate the other night over, is Return of the King or The Empire Strikes Back a better movie? And I think both of those are perfect movies, but I think Empire Strikes Back is even more perfect, partly because the middle chapter, lots of times, is a really, really hard thing to hit on the head. If you look at the two towers that we kind of unanimously agreed that The Two Towers was the weakest of the Lord of the Rings movies, and lots of these movies suffer from middle chapter syndrome. Empire Strikes Back is not only the best Star Wars movie, it's probably the best sequel of all time. Like, you see kind of the effects that the first film had on these characters, and you watch these characters grow, and you watch these characters kind of like stumble and fall as well. And I just think it's like a perfectly executed film. And as you said, pop culture wise, look at what Star Wars has done to this world. I don't know, what else do you have to add with this?
I had a thought as you were talking, and I was like, my opinion with Harry Potter. I was just thinking, just barely. In the email, she said that she had preferred the two. One thing that the first two, sorry. One thing that I really did like about Harry Potter and why it was a strong contender is, like you said, that we very much did grow with these people, and that's a lot of movies. You go through this whole story with these guys, but I feel like each one told the story in a very relevant way, and you can see a progression through the films if you're watching all of them back to back to back to back. In a weird way, like normally it's like, oh, that dates the movie, but I feel like it really does evolve with the times, and it doesn't distract me at all. And I think some of the last ones are my favorites, and David Yates did an amazing job with those ones. But it's hard for me, like you had said, it's hard for me to count Fantastic Beasts in it, though it is in the series, I guess. I don't know. I did like Fantastic Beasts, like you. I went and rewatched it, and it wasn't as strong. Maybe that's just something to know in general, is just don't go back to prequels. Like, why? Which is one thing about Star Wars I'll go into, is that, I mean, the mystery behind Darth Vader, though it was good to go through the prequels and understand that, I think the mystery in that is so much stronger to just kind of, that's why we make movies, right? Is because there's an important moment in time that you need to tell. You're not telling every part of the story, you're just telling this story. There's a reason it starts where it starts and it ends where it ends. So maybe all of these series shouldn't have gone to the prequel, but that's when corporate America steps in and it's like, oh, we need more money. Oh, I know, let's tell this first story. So who knows how, like, I don't know if it's even confirmed yet. Are they doing the Boba Fett movie? Has that been confirmed?
I'm not sure.
I hope they don't, because that's one where Boba Fett as a character, I mean, we kind of learn a little bit about like Jango Fett and stuff, but as a character, he's so much more mysterious if we don't get this whole prequel explanation of who he is. I think characters like Han Solo, it'll work because you can hop in and you could just have a fun adventure with these guys. But you're not it's more of an anthology, not a prequel explanation kind of a thing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to use Rogue One as another example of why I think Star Wars is the best, is because we literally have a movie with characters completely unrelated to this story that tells a complete story in the space of one film that also takes place in this universe, and does so very, very effectively. They're characters who I could really get behind and care about. I've seen Rogue One 4 times, guys. I loved Rogue One. Rogue One was my jam. I liked it even better than Force Awakens. I'd watch Rogue One again right now if I had the chance. And I think it's coming out on streaming Friday, so maybe I will this week, guys. Maybe I will. But that's one of the things, is like, Star Wars is a universe that not only the like expanded universe with like the books and the video games has like shown can be effective in telling stories of like characters who are not in the main episodes of the film, but you see characters who, as I said, like a team of like kind of like misfits in Rogue One who come together to like, take down the big empire, despite the fact that, none of them are really all that heroic on their own, and they work as this great unit. And that's like what movies are made for, guys. Like, it's such a great like blockbuster. It's inspiring. It's one of those movies that you can just like cheer in. And same goes for like all the Star Wars apart from, the episodes 1, 2, and 3. And as far as the Boba Fett thing goes, wasn't Attack of the Clones kind of a Boba Fett origin story? Because he watches his dad die as a kid or whatever and holds his severed head in his hand.
The prequels.
Yeah.
Which was another thing, I think one thing that these prequels do suffer from is something that has made all of these trilogies so. I think this is just film in general. The series are so good and the originals are so good because of the utilization of practical effects as well as everything. They're very good at encompassing every aspect of filmmaking, whereas one downfall to a lot of these prequels has been overuse of CGI and staying clear of what actually made the originals good, which where do we have room to complain at the same time? Because we wouldn't have the technology we have today if George Lucas didn't be like, oh, let's make every single stormtrooper in episode 2 CGI. Let's do that. If he hadn't done that, we would not be where we are today. So it was a miss. It probably wasn't the correct choice, but look at where we are now. I mean,
also we have Jar Jar. Jar Jar is the key to all this.
I will send you a picture, or depending on who edits this one, I'm putting a picture right there of me with Jar Jar Binks because he's the key to all of this.
All right, guys. Ryan, do you have anything else to add to the discussion?
No, chime in below. Let us know your thoughts. I mean, I tried to approach this as objectively as possible as to which one is the best, and I kind of wish I would have stuck. My first choice was Harry Potter just because it is so dear to me, and I kind of wish I would have.
Let's go ahead and you can right now, right here, best film series ever, Ryan. So I've had Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had a couple people tell me Lord of the Rings, obviously the email, but my boss as well was just like, it's Lord of the Rings with Star Wars in a close second. And I'm going to go with Star Wars. And yeah, I might be biased because I did, wear out the VHS tapes of the original Star Wars when I was a kid and watch them over and over and over again. They were like the first movies I remember watching, but I also just think that they're perfect movies. Return of the Jedi, third act, even the I might be wearing nostalgia colored glasses, but with these new movies as well, none of the new movies in either of the series are as good as the new movies in Star Wars. And I feel like The Last Jedi is going to come around and blow everybody out of the water. So right. I'm also in Star Wars' boat. And, but all three great series. I think we can agree, like all of us who, even the viewers watching this video, if people are infuriated, furiously typing at their computers in our comment sections right now, clicking the unsubscribe button, which you should not do, by the way. But yeah, I think that all three have made their footprint on filmmaking.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason all three were included in the discussion. I mean, the fact that they even made it into the discussion credits how well they've withstood the test of time. So definitely comment down below. Let us know what you think. What is the best series of all time?
Yeah, guys, they knocked out the Troll series, which I was really upset about. Anyways, you can follow me on Twitter at SpinnyHand. Ryan, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Rye_Gordon. And if you'd like to join us, we're still doing the 365-day photo challenge, which has been actually really fun, and I've really enjoyed the creativity coming from it. So if you are creative or want to be more creative, join us on that.
Hashtag 365 Cinemaholic, right?
Yes, maybe. It's either 365 Cinemaholic or Cinemaholic 365.
I think it's Cinemaholics 365 now that you say that. Also, email us at cinemaholicproductions@gmail.com. I'm not at the beginning of it, but cinemaholicproductions@gmail.com. And this weekend, we're talking about life
and Go Power Rangers!
Yeah, we're talking about Power Rangers as well, which I've heard kind of mixed feelings about from some people. But yeah, guys, be sure to tune in this weekend. It's going to be a great, fun-filled episode, I'm sure. All right, guys, until next time, bye!